Exactly 1 year and 3 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to test the C63 AMG station wagon as a family. And we took him for a 4-day road trip down to the south. The whole family, me included, was so thrilled by the way this car drives that we fell in love with this car. But despite it, I ask myself all the time, when I have so much fun with that station wagon, how must it be to drive the C63s as a coupe? And so it's not surprising that I couldn't say no as I get this opportunity. If you had the pleasure of watching last year's video, which we shoot with the C63 AMG station wagon, then you know how much I was thrilled by the car himself, and especially by his engine. Power kick? My God, yes! As I already said, during the 4-day recording with the C63 station wagon, anytime when I press the acceleration pedal, always one question pops up in my head. And the question was, if this car drives so fast, how it must then be to drive the C63s as a coupe? And the quick thinkers among you conclude now that my expectations on this car are very high, because it has 34 horsepower more and 50 Newton meters more. But what is more important, the chassis is more compact and the wheelbase is shorter, what means this car must run quicker through the corners than the station wagon and must be more faster on the straight line in case of the more power. But that's a theory. The question is how it is in practice. So in reality it is like this. After I set all the settings, I go to the sport mode, I set the harder damper setting, I open the exhaust valves and I change to manual gearbox and start to drive sporty and throw the car through the corners like I do it right now. I realize it doesn't feel really quicker through the corners compared to the station wagon. It is a little bit more agile in case of the shorter wheelbase, but it doesn't feel more lively through the corners. And I think that's it because the coupe is heavier. Yes, you heard it right. It is heavier. Heavier than the station wagon. Around 42 kilos heavier. And it's absolutely not logical to me why a coupe, which has always the sportier DNA than a station wagon, what is a family car, why this car is heavier. It has a shorter wheelbase, it has the more compact chassis, it has the same engine, but it is heavier. And I think that's the reason why this car doesn't feel really more agile than the station wagon. And I mean, that's sad, because yeah, I really thought this car will be much quicker through the corners and will make more fun through the corners than the station wagon, that has always a little bit more this philosophy of more comfortness and space, and it's a family car, and this here should be a sporty car. And sporty car to me always feels, or should feel, sportier, but not in case of the C63 AMG S Coupe, and that's really sad, you know. But I mean, let's be honest, okay? An AMG car was never really famous for the way how it goes through the corners. An AMG car is famous for its mighty and powerful engine. Every AMG car is really famous for its engine. And also here in this case, it's the same story. As I already told it by the video from the C63 station wagon, the whole thing feels like a movie. The car feels like a movie, and the engine in front of you is like a Hollywood superstar, okay? That's really how it feels. He dominates the whole game. From the first time when you start the engine, he's here. You hear how he works, and you feel him, you know? And through the whole experience of driving, he's always the superstar. And also, in case of this car, the same story, but compares to the C63 station wagon, which was really powerful, this car has 34 horsepower more and 50 Newton meters more. So on paper it should be faster, but in reality, not really. You know, when I start to accelerate, for example, second gear, third gear, so in the beginning, it really feels faster than the C63 station wagon. But then somewhere in the middle of the RPM band, around 4,000 to 5,000 RPM, somehow the engine starts to struggle. It feels like a big dog, a big, powerful, aggressive dog, and somebody keep holding him on the leash, you know? Same way here. But because around 5,000 RPM, the development of the power, the development of the performance somehow stops. It feels more restricted. This was not the case by the station wagon. By the station wagon, he starts to fight from 1,000 RPM until 7,000 RPM with constantly more pressure, and more power. And also the noise was different compared to this. And I think the reason for all that is that this car has the particle filter, which was not the case by the station wagon. The station wagon was the engine without the particle filter, and it was feeling more lively, more explosive to me than this engine. Doesn't matter that this engine has everything there, more horsepower and more Newton meters. Yeah. And I think that's the main point. That's the reason why this great engine feels somehow restricted, because the whole story with the particle filter holds him somehow back in any case. In case of performance, in case of how he developed the power, in case of how he developed the whole sound, the sound color, the noisiness. Because by the car without the particle filter, it was getting more noisier, louder, nice sounding sound. With every RPM that he's climbing up, it's getting better and better. And here in this case of this car and this engine, it's the opposite way. Around 4,000 RPM, he stops to develop more this nice sound color. Somehow it stays the same way. And also the same story with with power development, and yeah, it feels really like this car struggles. It feels, you realize this engine is really not made for the particle filter. You know, it was an engine that was made to work without the particle filter, and then at the end, because of case of the restrictions that they have, they put in the particle filter, and you feel this engine can handle it. You know, it can handle it. That's the problem. If you never drive the C63 AMG without the particle filter, I think you will not realize it, because it is still a powerful car that drives great and sounds great. But if you know both worlds, with particle filter and without, in my eyes it's a really big gap. Yeah, and that's really sad. Yeah. I cannot talk about this car without to talk about his rival, the F82 M4. So yesterday we finished the recording with the F82 M4, and the memory is pretty fresh, and so I can also really make a good comparison to this car, because I mean they are really rivals. So it starts with the exterior. So when you walk in the direction of the car. So normally a Mercedes is always a little bit more a classic, elegant car than BMWs. BMWs are always more famous for sportiness and sporty design. But here it's the opposite way, because the AMG C63s looks more mightier, more show off, more powerful than the M4. The M4 looks in this case more understatement. You see it is a performance car, but it's an understatement performance car in case of the optic, okay? And then you sit in this car, and then there is really the big difference, because this car, the C63s, feels much more premium to you as driver in case of everything. The way how it looks in the inside. In case of materials that Mercedes used here in this car, it is more one level up than the M4, okay? And I'm really not a big fan in case of digital cockpits, virtual cockpits. I like more the analog cockpits. But if I must choose one, it will be this one of this car. It is the nicest and beauteous virtual cockpit I ever seen. Really, I ever discovered in a car. It looks so great. I love the way how the graphic is. I love the colors. I love the informations. When you change to the AMG power monitor, you can really set everything, all the information that you want to have from this car here, and it looks great, and it's absolutely the layout is perfect. Okay, really the perfect virtual cockpit. And then there is here great steering wheel. The way how it looks, the way how it feels with that carbon fiber, lovely. And you have also as an extra option here the setting for the buttons to change the drive mode, to change the exhaust volume, to change the gearbox, or you can also set it to your taste. You have here 3 small displays. You can set, for example, the damper setting. You can really set nearly everything over those steering wheel without any complicated menus and under menus in the middle part here where you need to choose and search until you're driving. Everything is here on the steering wheel. Great, really lovely. It's on a high class. But let's talk about the important thing, and that's the performance, okay? So the M4 is bigger. So when you sit in the M4 and you sit here in the C63, you realize the M4 is bigger. And also the chassis from the outside is bigger. But the M4 still feel more lively and more agile to me. Okay, that's also 300 kilograms less than this car. And that's again some stupid thing that I don't see where here's the logic. I mean, already his brother, the station wagon, is lighter than him, and the M4 is 300 kilograms lighter than him. Doesn't matter, it is a bigger car, it is lighter. I don't know what they did wrong here in case of the Coupe. But in case of this more lightweight, it feels more agile, it feels more lively through the corners. The way how an M feel goes to the corners compared to this car is a different level, okay? It is like it is. And also, it has 70 horsepower less than the AMG and 100 Newton meters less than this car, but it still feels on the same level. That's funny. This M4 with less power and less Newton meters feel when you accelerate on the same level like this car. And that's the other thing. So all in all, if we're talking about performance, the M4 is really the better car. Not a little bit, the much better car for driving experience, for if you really love fast and sporty driving. This car feels a little bit more quality. No, it feels much more quality than the M4, interior and exterior. And also when you drive easy, you enjoy it, it feels more premium, you know. That's the big gap between those two cars. So all in all, what should I say? The conclusion is I'm a little bit disappointed because I thought that car will be in many cases better than the station wagon, faster and more corner agile, but it isn't. So I think at the end I will choose the station wagon because it gives me more emotions than this car, and it also makes more sense to me as a family father. But if I compare it to the M4, I think I will choose this car because I'm a big driving enthusiast and the M4 definitely drives better than this car. But the whole package fits more for me from the AMG than from the M4 because it feels somehow more premium. It looks, in my eyes, it looks nicer and mightier than the M4, and it doesn't drive bad. But it doesn't drive at this level where the M4 performed. But I think still I have more sympathy at the end for this car than for the M4.